Great new day to my self-care family and friends. Welcome back to the Room2Breathe Podcast. I'm your host, Life Coach 614, and as always, I'm so glad you're here today. Now, before we dive in, breathe with me. I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose. Inhale that strength. And I want you to exhale from your mouth, releasing all the weight that you've been carrying. This is your moment to slow down, to soften your shoulders, to unclench your jaw, and just be. If this space feeds your soul, take a second to like, comment, share, or subscribe so you don't miss a beat. This isn't just a podcast. It's a sacred pause in your week. And if you're not connected with us already, meet us over at theselfcareclub.org. We've got some affirmative apparel to help you on your journey. We also have some digital wellness tools and a powerful community waiting to hold space for you. All right. Today, you guys, we are talking about pressure. We are talking about pain. We are talking about power. Today's episode is called The Boiling Point. How pressure shapes your healing, not your breakdown. Because, family, listen, sometimes the fire isn't here to break you. It's here to boil something out of you and to brew something greater within you. What up, MK? Welcome in, bruh. Hey, Peach. How you doing today, beautiful? EBT, I see you in the house. So again, guys, we're going to talk about that boiling point, all right? And, with that, there simply comes a moment when life stops simmering quietly in the background and it starts demanding your attention, right? A moment when everything that you've suppressed, smiled through, swallowed, or silenced starts to bubble up. It gets loud. It gets hot. It is relentless. That is the boiling point, okay? Now, so straight up, welcome in. Listen, I know that some of y'all are listening already and nodding your heads because you feel it right now, right? The tightness in your chest, that lump in your throat, the exhaustion that's not just physical, it's spiritual, right? The moment when you say, I don't know how much more I can take, but I also don't know how to stop, right? Let's talk about it. Yes, EBT. And, most of us think that we think of the boiling point as a breakdown, right? When we reach our boiling point or when we hit our boiling point, we think of it as a snap, a scream, right? A sob in the shower. But really, it's just the result of us carrying too much for too long without a release. And I'm not talking about one bad day, okay? I'm talking about the accumulated pressure of performing while grieving, smiling while secretly hurting, supporting others while feeling completely unseen, working twice as hard and still feeling like you're left behind, or simply being the strong one, right? The fixer, the go-to person with nowhere to go yourself. That's heat. That's the fire, right? And it doesn't always show up as rage or collapse. Sometimes it's subtle, like resentment sitting behind a fake smile, or a random moment you cry during a commercial for no particular reason at all, right? Like dreading getting out of bed because your soul is tired, not just your body. And if we're honest, a lot of us were taught to normalize this heat, right? We were taught to expect it, to wear it like a badge of honor. Because in our communities, especially for Black women, right, being in pain is often praised as perseverance. But surviving isn't the same as thriving. And pressure that pressure that is unspoken, unprocessed pressure, it's going to eventually boil over. Welcome in, Alicia. So let me ask you this. What's your heat? What's the thing that's simmering beneath the surface that you haven't said out loud yet? Is it the guilt of wanting more? The shame of burnout when you're supposed to have it all together? The quiet grief of being everything for everyone while feeling like, nothing to yourself? And I want you to be honest. I want you to name it, right? Because when we name the heat, we start to reclaim our power. Thank you for sharing the live. When we stop minimizing our stress, our trauma, our overfunctioning, we start to create space to actually move through it. So today I ask that you be real with yourself. Don't sugarcoat your story. Don't, call it just a lot going on, right? We always tell people, I just got a lot going on. When what we really mean is I'm breaking and nobody sees me. Okay, Mr. Awesome. Don't just call it, just tired. I'm just tired. Because what you really mean is that you are spiritually depleted. Don't call it being strong when you really mean I am silently suffering. See, you don't have to hold it all alone. You don't have to spiritualize it. You don't have to over-explain it. You don't have to pretend that it's okay. Because the boiling point isn't your enemy. It is a signal. It's your body, your spirit, and your nervous system screaming, we have hit our maximum capacity, and it is time for a shift. It is time to stop surviving and start surrendering. I want to ask you to ask yourself, honestly, where are you pretending there's no heat? Ultimately, the pot is about to boil over, but what areas of your life are you simply just pretending that there is no heat? And once you figure that out, I want you to write it down. I want you to name the thing. Because the moment that you do, the moment you speak your truth without shame, without sugarcoating it, you start to create an opening for the healing to enter. So this isn't a segment where we're going to look for solutions, right? This is the sacred pause before the change happens. This is the moment where you finally say, you know what? It's getting hot in here. And I've been holding on to this for far too long. And that's where we begin. Okay? Because before transformation comes honesty. We've got to get real. Hey, Kevin. Before we have a breakthrough, we got to have a boiling point. So pause if you must. Take a breath. Take a moment. And allow the truth to rise up. Because today we're going to turn on the heat. And we're going to turn that heat into healing. And I know that, when things start to boil, it gets a little ugly, right? Healing ain't always pretty. Let's just be real for a second. Healing ain't always pretty. Everybody loves to talk about healing like it's some soft and glowing experience, right? Like it's sage and silence and clean white candles and perfectly curated spaces. But sometimes healing is messy as hell, right? Sometimes, hey, Miss Sherry, sometimes healing is crying on your bathroom floor at 2 a.m. because your soul is tired. Sometimes it's snapping at people you love and then crying because you feel ashamed for doing it. Sometimes it's not journaling, not praying, not meditating, just surviving. It's too much sleep or none at all. It's grieving the version of you that stayed silent. It's wanting to quit everything and still waking up the next day and trying again. See, nobody posts that version of the journey. Nobody celebrates the part of healing where you feel more broken before you feel whole. But that's the part that matters. There's always a breakdown before there is a breakthrough. And let me tell you something. The moment that you realize that you're sitting in discomfort, when nothing makes sense and the old you doesn't fit anymore, but the new you still fully hasn't arrived, that is a sacred space. That's the boiling point where everything is in you is screaming, this hurts too much to keep carrying. Something has to give. And listen, I've been there, right? I've held back tears in client sessions. I've worn a face when I felt like a ghost, right? Just throw on a mask because I'm just literally a shell of myself, okay? I've questioned my own worth while preaching healing to other people. Because even coaches have a boiling point, you guys. Even the strongest women crack under pressure. Men too. And you know what? That doesn't make us weak. It makes us real. And so oftentimes I feel like we talk about these glow ups, but we don't talk enough about the go throughs. Everybody wants to glow up. But in order to glow up, you got to go through some things. We talk about being chosen, but we don't talk about choosing ourselves when no one else does. We talk about being that girl, but not the nights we felt like a nobody. So if you're listening right now and you're sitting there like, Coach, I'm in it. I don't see the light yet. I'm angry. I'm ashamed. I feel stuck. I want you to hear me when I say that you are still healing. You are still worthy. You are still becoming. And I need you to know that that part counts too. So that pressure that you feel, it's not evidence of your failure. It's evidence that you're still fighting for your healing. And even when the healing is ugly, even when it looks like starting over for the 5th time, even when you're tired of being strong, you're not going backwards. You are breaking open. You are being refined. So don't let anybody, rush your process. Don't spiritualize away your sadness. And by all means, please do not put a bow on your breakdown. Just breathe. Just be. Let the tears fall if they must. Let the anger rise if it has to. Let the truth come up through the steam, because the mess is sacred too. And if nobody else told you today, I am proud of you for being here, for still choosing to heal even when it's hard. You don't need to be inspirational to be deserving. Yes, Jordan. You just need to be honest. And that is enough. I want to share this story with you guys. I heard this story and it's something that had just stuck with me. And I feel like it's just so on point with today's discussion, okay? There was a young woman who was overwhelmed, exhausted, and she went to her grandmother and said, I'm tired of fighting. Okay? I'm tired of fighting. Life keeps turning up the heat and I am so exhausted. I'm worn out, Grandma. Right? And I don't know how much more I can take. So the grandmother, she looks at her. She doesn't lecture her. She doesn't say, stay strong, right? She just moves into the kitchen. And Grandma grabs 3 pots of water and sets them all to boil. Now, in one of the pots, she places potatoes, hard, unyielding, tough on the outside. In another pot, she places eggs, fragile and soft on the inside, right? And in the third pot, she pours coffee grounds. What up, Janelle? And we know coffee grounds are dark, crushed, broken down, but holding so much potential. So the girl is sitting there again, overwhelmed, exhausted, and she's watching her grandmother and she is confused, y'all. 20 minutes pass in silence. And grandma removes the potatoes from the stove. And now they're soft and they're breaking apart. Make sure y'all follow me. She removes the eggs and she cracks the egg open and now it's hard on the inside. Right? And the coffee, she ladles the coffee and now it's rich, it's bold, it's transformed. So she looks at her granddaughter and says, they all face the same adversity, but only the coffee beans changed in the water. Right? Only the coffee beans changed the water. So again, think about this. The potatoes started off hard, unyielding, tough on the outside. You boiled them, they soften up, right? They got a little mushy. Put the eggs in. The eggs were fragile, soft on the inside, but you boiled them and they got hard. The coffee grounds, they're just crushed up, broken down, holding so much potential. There's so much potential in the coffee ground. But the coffee ground changed the water. See, the egg didn't change the water. The potato didn't change the water, but the coffee did. And I think that that's a spot where we need to pause, y'all. For some of y'all already catching on to this. Go ahead and drop a green heart if you get it already. Right? If you feel like you're becoming the coffee, drop it in the chat. I'm going to break this down for you as to why it is important for us to strive to be the coffee in the boiling water. Understanding that we're going to go through a potato season, we're going to hit an egg season, but baby, when we hit this coffee season, oh, that's something different. Right? Let's get in here. Hey, sugar. Let's get in here. Okay, the potato season, y'all. Let's talk about when strong breaks down. Right? We'll start with the potato. Some of us have been in our potato season. Okay? That season where, you know, you went in strong, you had confidence, faith, the plans, but life hit you hard and left you mushy, doubtful, disconnected from your strength. And we don't always talk about that, right? We don't talk about how the strong friend breaks down when nobody's looking. We don't talk about the burnout that follows, you know, being everything to everybody. But here's the truth. Softening under pressure doesn't mean you're weak. It means you are human. Come on, potato. I see you, Jordan. And the key isn't to shame yourself for getting soft, right? It's about recognizing where you need to rebuild from the inside out. Thank you, sugar. You have to understand, you have to build from the inside out. So then there's some of us who are in our egg season, right? When the softness turns cold. Let's talk about the egg, right? That season where you're used to being tenderhearted, open, loving, but now you're hardened, right? You've built walls. You've shut down emotionally. You still show up, but now you're guarded. Life got to life, and so now you feel like you have to protect yourself. And, you know, this hard-boiled version of you, that is your survival mechanism. I want you to know if you are in your egg season, I see you. Because I know that this season in your life came from betrayal, from disappointment, from people not loving you the way you needed. But here's the warning. Protection can become a prison if you never let love back in. So if you have built this hard exterior because you have been hurt, you have been abandoned, you have been abused, neglected, right? So now you've got trust issues and you've got this hard exterior. Do not allow that protection to become your prison. You have to let love back in. You have to let light back in. Even though, yeah, it got dark at a point, but you've got to let it back in. You've got to love yourself. Real healing means learning how to be safe and soft again. Now, let's get into this coffee bean season, okay? Let's talk about becoming the atmosphere that we're in. Because thank you, sugar, this is the shift. This is the season when transformation happens. Listen, I don't know who cutting onions, but they go good with the potatoes and the egg. You know what I'm saying? We talking about making a boil. But I'm going to need some coffee first, Jordan, okay? We need this coffee. Because again, the coffee is where the transformation happens. The coffee beans don't resist the heat. They don't fear the boiling water. The coffee beans embrace the water. And they change the entire environment in response. This is what it looks like in real life. When you start setting boundaries without guilt. Okay? When you start speaking up, even when your voice is shaking. Loving again after betrayal. Not because you forgot, but because you forgave yourself enough to move forward. You don't just survive the fire, you add flavor to it. You season it, right? You walk into that room with your peace, your presence, and your purpose, and you shift the entire temperature. That's when your boiling point becomes your breakthrough. And if we slow things down for just a moment and we'll get a little personal. Y'all know I don't mind telling y'all my business, right? Because I don't speak from theory. I speak from survival, from heartbreak, from healing, from being in the fire and learning how to breathe through the steam. I'm going to tell y'all about my potato season. I was in a place where I felt like I had to be on all the time. Strong, capable, unshaken. Y'all, I was pouring into everybody else, my clients, my family, my relationships, but I wasn't pouring into me. And I didn't even realize just how much I was breaking down behind the scenes. I would wake up exhausted, cry in the shower, put a brave face on, and show up like everything was all good. But deep down, I was mush. Okay? I felt like life, as I knew it, was just slipping through my own fingers. Anybody else ever been there? Where it's like you feel like you're so strong for everyone else that you forget to be soft for yourself. That's the potato season. And what I learned while in that season, right, what it taught me was that strength without softness is simply a mask. It's not a muscle. You've got to have strength and softness. And so once I learned that I had to be strong but soft, I stepped into my egg season. And that was the moment I hit my never again. I'm not doing this again. Been there, done that Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? That's that point where you just be like, never again. We're not doing this, right? Y'all know the moment I'm talking about where you just, you set boundaries and you build walls at the same time. Like you lighten a match, burning sage and bridges too. Just you don't even give a damn, right? This is the part where I said I'm done. But what I really meant was I'm hurt. Right? And when you're in this season, you might still be functioning. You might still be posting your posts. You might be smiling, coaching. Yeah. Mothering, ministering, showing up. But your heart is locked away behind the glass. And y'all, I was so polite about it. Okay? I was professional. Right? I had it all together. I packaged it up real pretty. But I wasn't available emotionally because the people that I loved failed to protect me. The people that I trusted didn't hold me down when it mattered. And I got tired of hoping differently just to be hurt in the same way again. So this season, yeah, it's a dangerous one. This season hardens you. It toughens you. But here's the truth. Emotional hardness is not healing. It's armor. And if you're always armed, how can you receive? Right, Miss Sherry? How can you receive if you're constantly on guard? You can't be held. You can't feel love without suspecting pain. Right? You think, oh, if they show me love, there's going to be pain right behind it. And y'all, honestly, that realization just kind of cracked me wide open. Right? I knew that I can't receive if I don't open my arms, if I don't open up to it. And again, I realized not again, not anymore. I want more. I deserve more. There is more out there, right? So again, we get into that coffee season. And y'all, it's not a magical shift, okay? There's nothing extra in the coffee, y'all. It's just a cup of coffee. Right? So it's not a magical shift. It's just a decision. And when I entered this season, it was just me standing in the same boiling water. I had the same triggers. I had the same pressures. I had the same people, that I had poured into who failed to show up for me. They were all still there, no matter what season. Right? But instead, this time I was saying, this time I'm going to respond differently. This time I'm going to brew something from this mess. And so for me, it looked like speaking up in the moment, not just journaling my pain quietly. It looked like me saying I'm not okay out loud, even if I was nervous. Creating sacred space where I don't have to always be life coach. I can just be me. The woman, the wife, the mother, the daughter, the little girl inside of me still healing. This season looks like turning steam into sacred sweat in the studio. Writing lyrics that said the things that I couldn't text. The things that I couldn't talk about for years. Right? Producing music that came straight from the pressure that I was under. It looks like me showing up unapologetically, showing my clients my work in progress, not just the polished wisdom that comes after I figure it out, but that real-time vulnerability. Because we're not healing from a script. Life doesn't come with a script. It doesn't have a manual. We are healing in real time. We are healing from the soil of all of our stories. And listen, I've seen it in my clients too, right? One sister came to me, with years of people pleasing patterns. Like she couldn't say no without being guilty, right? Just constantly feeling guilty. Always last on her own to-do list. And after 3 months of coaching her and her doing the real work, she built a boundary that was so beautiful that her yes became so sacred to her. I can remember another young lady came in battling grief and guilt over a miscarriage, right? And she had turned all of the pain that she was experiencing inward, believing that she wasn't enough. What up, Lady Blue? And, after many sessions of sitting in that boiling pot together, week by week, we started to brew strength out of her sorrow. Right? And now she runs a support group for Black women navigating fertility trauma. How amazing is that? Right? She turned her pain into purpose. And listen, y'all, the aroma of her healing still fills this room today. And one of my favorite clients, y'all, I can remember she came to me so quiet, so guarded. And during our sessions, she would always say things like, I'm fine. And she had a cute little smile, y'all, right? But I could see through the eggshell that she was so fragile, hiding so much. And now she's mentoring other women. She's working on a book, writing her story, and she's leading healing circles of her own. That's coffee. That's what brewed healing smells like. And so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, that's me, right? That's me. That's where I am right now. Let me tell you something with love. Your boiling point is not your breaking point. It's your birthing point. I'm going to say that again. Your boiling point is not your breaking point. It's your birthing point. You're not drowning. You're steeping. You're not falling. You're flavoring the life you're building. You're still showing up. You're still breathing. You're still becoming. And the world needs the pressure, right? The world needs your pressure. So don't fear the steam. Let it rise. Let it soften. And, let it soften what needs releasing. Welcome back, Papa Smurf. Let it strengthen what needs refining. And trust that you're not the same person you were when you entered this fire. Here on the Room to Breathe podcast, we talk a lot about healing, about transformation, about choosing ourselves in rooms that once taught us to disappear. But I feel like I would be doing you a disservice if I only gave you the polished versions. If I only shared parts of the story where I made it through the storm. But the truth is, I didn't just arrive at healing. Y'all, I crawled in it. I cried into it. I had to lose versions of myself I thought were permanent just to find out who I really was. And there was a moment, a very specific breaking point, when I realized just how much I had been carrying silently. how long I had been shrinking for love, how many apologies that I had given out, right? How many apologies I gave for simply having needs. Hey, Miss Portia. How deeply I needed to say what had never been said. So what I want to share with you guys now is a letter. I'm always having my clients write a Dear Me love letter. But not often do people get to hear my love letter to myself. And so I wrote a letter to the girl I used to be. The one that held her breath for years, trying to keep everybody else comfortable while slowly suffocating in silence. I call this my transparent testimony. And I want you guys to understand that this is what healing sounds like when you finally give yourself permission to feel it all, to name it, to release it, to finally breathe. And so if you have ever questioned your worth, if you've ever blamed yourself for somebody else's pain, or if you ever felt like you had to earn love by erasing yourself, I want you to listen to this. I want you to receive this love letter to the younger me, because maybe I'm going to be speaking to the younger you too. So it says, Dear me, a love letter to my younger self. Hey, baby girl, I know you've been holding your breath, holding it through the chaos, through silence that felt like punishment, through the love that had conditions, through the pain that nobody asked you about. You learned early how to make yourself small, how to be good even when it hurt, how to smile through discomfort, apologizing for things that wasn't your fault. And you keep showing up for people who never showed up for you. But I need you to hear this. You didn't deserve that. You didn't deserve the emotional neglect. You didn't deserve to carry the guilt of other people's wounds. You didn't deserve to become the strong one just because everyone else fell apart. You were a child, a teenager, a young woman just trying to be loved. And instead, you were taught to perform, to please, to stay quiet, to be a healer while your own heart bled in secrecy. But let me tell you something now. You have permission to exhale. And I mean for real this time. You don't have to keep proving your worth through exhaustion. You don't have to carry the shame that was handed to you like it belonged. You don't have to keep being the version of you that survived. Because now you have room to breathe. You get to pause, to rest, to ask, what do I need? And not flinch at the answer. You get to put your hands on your own chest and say, I choose me, even when it's messy, even when it's hard, even when no one else understands. There's no prize for being unbreakable, baby girl. There's no trophy for betraying yourself in silence. You don't have to be strong every second just to be seen as worthy. You are already worthy. You always were. And I'm sorry that no one protected your softness. I'm sorry you had to learn love by unlearning the pain. I'm sorry it took so long for someone to say it plainly. You didn't deserve that. And it's not your job to carry it anymore. So let this be your permission slip to unpack the weight, to feel, to grieve, to scream if you need to dance barefoot in your healing, to cry in the middle of the day and not apologize for it. You get to become someone new, someone whole, someone free. You don't owe the world a polished version of your pain. You just owe yourself your truth. You are not broken. You are healing. And baby, you are allowed to breathe. I am so proud of you for surviving, but I'm even prouder of you for finally choosing to live. With all the love you never got but always deserve, sincerely me, aka you, but with room to breathe. Whew. I'm surprised I can even get through it now without crying, you guys. Because when I say that the little girl inside of me needed to hear that. Thank you, Smurf. When I wrote this, and even now today, I think I needed to hear that again. And, when I share that with people, people are like, you were talking to me, And so that's why I said, it's not always just about me. When we're healing, yeah, that healing is for us, but it's not always just us. Thank you, Miss Pam. Thank you, Star Blue. And so I know that is heavy. Healing can be heavy. Thank you, Touches. I know it's a lot, but there are things that just simply need to be said along the way. And we've been holding out so long for someone else to hear them, right? For someone else to hear us. But sometimes we just need to speak that life over ourselves. Thank you. And so, as much as I know that maybe, this had to be said, right? And maybe, just maybe, it was something that you needed to hear too. I know how much it takes to face your story, to name what hurt you without allowing it to define you, to speak to your younger self without judgment, just love. That letter wasn't just a testimony. It was a turning point for me. A moment of release. A declaration that says, I've carried it long enough and I am allowed to let this go. And guess what? So are you. You are allowed to let go of the shame, of the silence, of the need to keep holding it together for everyone else. You are allowed to be in soft places you once had to harden just to survive. You don't need permission from the people who hurt you. You don't need closure that is never going to come. You just simply need this moment to choose you. So as we start to wrap up today, listen, I want to start by thanking you for showing up, for breathing with me through the uncomfortable parts, for sitting with the truth instead of running from it. This is what healing looks like. Messy, honest, but so, so sacred. I'm going to constantly remind you that you are not behind. You are not broken. You are still becoming, and you are doing so at your own divine pace. So now that we've made room to breathe, take one more breath with me. I want you to inhale peace. And I want you to exhale everything you've outgrown. Again, this is your room to breathe. And we're going to use it, right? We're going to take up space. As we come to the end of this episode, I want you to remember this. The boiling point is not your breaking point. It's your breakthrough. It's the moment where your pain meets your power, where the pressure becomes purpose, where you stop shrinking to survive and start rising to live. So if you're feeling like, you're in the thick of it right now, if life has turned up the heat and you're wondering why it hurts so much, just know that you are not being punished. You're being prepared. And healing, it doesn't always look pretty. Sometimes it's tears on the bathroom floor. Sometimes it's unfollowing people who can't honor your growth. Sometimes it's letting go of who you thought you had to be just to remember who you really are. So take all the time that you need. Cry if you need to. Start over if you must. But whatever you do, don't give up on you. You are worth the work. You are worth the love. You are worth that breath you just took. Now, if today's message spoke to something deep inside of you, I want you to drop some green hearts in the comments. I want you to head over to YouTube and share this with someone who is ready to stop surviving and start healing. And remember to follow us right here for more soul food every day, every week. I want you to take an opportunity, thank you, to head over to the selfcareclub.org where healing doesn't stop, right? We've got so many free resources, affirming apparel, and so much more to help you protect your peace and pour into your purpose. Thank you, Steph. Now, until the next time, I'm going to encourage you to keep breathing. Even when the heat is high, know that your breath is your anchor. I also remind you to stay positive because your outlook shapes your atmosphere. And know that you will always be supported here at the Self-Care Club. You don't have to shrink. I don't want you to be afraid to take up space, to claim your voice, your worth, and your peace. I encourage you to make a little room to breathe, to heal, to become. I love you all to life, and I pray that you all have an amazing day on purpose, filled with purpose. Yes, Miss Sherry. Miss Sherry asked, do I accept donations? I do. Inbox me. Certain platforms don't allow me to talk about that, but you can inbox me and I can share details. Yeah. Go to the website. If you go to selfcareclub.org, there is a button at the bottom that says need help, and you guys can message me there. You're so welcome, Pam. Thank you so much. EBT, thank you. Thank you guys for the gifts. I appreciate you guys. I always try to type this in the comments in the end, but I want you guys to truly understand that, I absolutely love each and every one of you to life. I do. People say, oh, I love you to death. Baby, don't love me to death, honey. Love me to life. Okay? Speak life over me. But I do. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here, not just for showing up for me to listen to, the content that was put on my heart to share, but more so for you showing up for you. Those of you who keep coming back every single day, it shows me that you have reached your boiling point, that you've just had enough. Thank you. You've just had enough. And you're like, you know what? No more. But now that you've recognized you've reached that boiling point, I need you to remember that the fire that is under us, the fire that life keeps bringing, is not here to break you. Thank you, Smurf. Thank you, Steph. It's not here to break you guys. It's here to build you. So I need you guys to remember that. Thank you guys, and we'll be back tomorrow, same time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, all right? Thank you.